hearty welcome and happy Easter Sunday to one and all. This is episode 137 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for spending some of your Easter Sunday here with me. If you're checking out this episode on the YouTube channel or enjoying the content, haven't done so already, please click like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on those notifications. Or if you catch up with this episode, maybe on the ride home from an Easter Sunday dinner, on the audio platforms such as Spotify or iTunes, same general rule applies. Click like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. So today is the 25th anniversary of The Matrix, the movie, the beginning of a very successful, although hotly debated as far as which films are good and which ones suck, and only the first one is good and they're all good. But March 31st, 1999 saw the release of the Wachowskis' extraordinary science fiction action classic. Most people, at least big movie fans, agree that the first one at the very least is, well, we all know it's iconic, but is a classic, an all-timer, a great science fiction film, a mindfuck sci-fi with some of the most incredible action sequences and the kind of wire work, the practical special effects versus CGI. The Wachowskis got the balance just right. And it's strange because I didn't see it in theaters. I don't really have any excuse. It's ridiculous that I didn't see it in theaters. I feel like during that time frame, I was still going to the movies. I know I saw the Joel Schumacher film 8mm with Nick Cage in that general time frame. I feel like that movie was also like within a month or so. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, I wasn't into seeing The Matrix. The early buzz was strong, but I read something Harry Knowles had written on his famous Ain't It Cool News movie site, and he was having issues buying into it, and he'd had feedback that was very strong because he was a guy who had kind of spies working throughout Hollywood, and the advance buzz was very solid. But Harry had an up and down relationship with Keanu Reeves, and I guess to some extent so did I, as dumb as that sounds, because I never met him in up and down relationship. But there were movies where I felt that his performances hurt. And that's what Harry was talking about, because he had apparently read the Matrix script. I hadn't, although I nearly worked with, this is ridiculous, but the Wachowskis, one of their reps worked for a company that I nearly got represented by, again, even before The Matrix. This is going back to 1997, 98. And they were a firm in the city, and they ended up not taking me as a client. And I was a little salty about that. I was pissed off. You know, me, age 24, fuck all this fucking bullshit. Still had that attitude. So part of the reason why I didn't see the movie, some of it was Keanu's wrong for this. There's no way this is going to work. Because they had some photos of him in action. It didn't really look that good. This was a movie you had to actually see, because to explain it to somebody and then to just look at set photos, I remember Harry saying, I'm not seeing this. I read this script and I don't see Keanu in this role. I don't think this is going to work. So with all of that bullshit, self-created gobbledygook, I didn't see it in theaters. And it's interesting that the movie got good reviews, but not as good as it should have gotten. The Rotten Tomatoes are okay. I mean, it's certified fresh, but the movie should have gotten at least 90%, given what it did in sci-fi and for action, and some of the pioneering techniques with the wire work and wire fu, or whatever you want to call it, the choreography being so immaculate, so well positioned and executed. The fact that the actors were trained intensely. They weren't just screwing around. They didn't just shoot certain camera angles. Oh, and don't worry about the training. No, Keanu was trained very intensively. Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving. Mr. Anderson, welcome back. Talk about home run bomb casting of Hugo Weaving, who, I mean, I knew of him. He had been in Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, a movie that got a lot of acclaim, but I didn't think it was that great. It was okay. I mean, in that ballpark, of the kind of under the radar Australian films, Muriel's Wedding I really liked, for whatever that's worth. But Adventures of Priscilla got so much acclaim, and it was okay. But what Hugo Weaving did, amazing. What a great actor. I didn't really even like him in Lord of the Rings, but phenomenal in all of his appearances in The Matrix. And, the movie that he did, V for Vendetta, fantastic. Even though he doesn't show his face, what a perfect voice. A perfect voice for the movies. And ironically, we often talk about whether somebody has an expressive face, a face for the movies. He does. But it's the stillness in The Matrix, his ability to hold the same expression, because he is, after all, playing a computer program. But yes, a bit shameful that I didn't catch The Matrix in theaters, even as I was told. A lot of people at Bev's gym, some friends of varying ages, even some boomers, Jerry, you've got to see this movie. I don't want to. Fuck this. I broke down and I saw The Matrix when it hit, DVD. I had gotten a DVD player and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Just as people told me I would. Whatever resistance I may have had for the nonsensical bullshit about me being upset that I didn't get represented. Come on. Like really baby stuff. But the movie, as much as it had been pitched at me, you're going to love this, it still exceeded expectations. And it's not something that happens often. I'd mentioned on a previous podcast the way Terminator 2 was a film that I had looked forward to from the first time it was teased during the run-up to Total Recall's theatrical release, of course, with Arnold, in the summer of 1990, and the original trailer first landed for Terminator 2. And that was a movie that had incredible buzz in the pre-internet era of 1991 and got really good reviews. But seeing the film, it was actually better than expected. And with everybody talking up The Matrix, I read some of the reviews that said, it's not that good. The Wachowskis, they paint us, but this fucking movie is incredible. So I didn't really necessarily get swayed by the critics, but there were critics I appreciated and usually agreed with that were down on the film. Looks great, but there's no heart, or some nonsense like that. When I saw it, I was floored at the world-building nature. And that, to me, is what I love about the best of science fiction. When you have movies such as another movie I've talked about on the channel as the best movie you've never seen, Dark City, which came out the previous year. And Dark City has some action elements, and the Wachowskis actually used some of the sets that Alex Proyas had used in Dark City. And some of the costuming is in the ballpark. But Dark City is more film noir sci-fi. And The Matrix has some noir elements, but it's more sci-fi action. But both movies share that kind of world building where there's more going on than just Thomas Anderson Neo and what's the story with the Oracle and Agent Smith and what's happening here, what's real, what's not. Do you think that's air you're breathing now? Would you like to take the red pill or the blue pill? Why did I take the blue pill? But the best of science fiction. And I put The Matrix, if you ask me, is it in my top 10 best science fiction films? Fuck yeah. Might even be in my top 5. Blade Runner, world building. Off-world. We're here on Earth, but we can move to another planet. Total Recall. We're here on Earth. Honey, let's do it. Do what? Move to Mars. You know how much I hate this fucking planet. World building. The beauty of science fiction, challenging the audience's perceptions. And for all of the action sequences and all of Keanu's looking great with the sunglasses and the line delivery of the actors, Carrie-Anne Moss, the kind of mystery of Trinity and all of that, it's a feast for the eyes, but it's a feast for the mind. And that, it bothered me that critics I respected dismissed what I just said, because they're acted as if it's just a bunch of shit blowing up. It looks great, and the actors are all very attractive, and you can tell they're committed to the performances, but there's no heart. Bullshit. I called bullshit at the time when I finally saw the movie on DVD in, I guess, the summer or fall of 1999. Loved it. And yeah, I was upset that I hadn't gone to see it in theaters. But Keanu's performance to me is perfect. And this is where you get into the kind of delineation between a great movie star and a great actor. Keanu Reeves is not a great actor. But in certain roles, just as a Robert Redford, for example, who is not necessarily the most emotive or a great thespian, but if you put Robert Redford in the right role, he's fucking gold. And Redford has a number of roles, especially The Natural, where he was so perfectly cast, it doesn't feel as if he's acting. And sometimes you say, well, it doesn't look like he's really giving a performance. Redford was criticized, for example, for Out of Africa, the movie he made, which ended up winning a huge number of Oscars and wide acclaim. Sidney Pollack, Meryl Streep, Best Picture for, the Oscar for Best Picture. But Redford was criticized because he didn't really give a performance. He didn't really give a quote-unquote performance. He doesn't really give a performance in The Natural, but it's perfect because he comes across like the guy. This is what Roy Hobbs would probably be like. He wouldn't be an emotive person. He's a farm boy. He lost his father at a young age. He suffered enormous levels of tragedy. This is probably how he really would be. It's a movie star performance. Now, true story, this is something that you can Google. The role of Thomas Anderson in Neo was offered to Will Smith first. And Will Smith has talked extensively about this in various interviews. And Will would have been coming off a movie where he was like about the fifth or sixth choice. Enemy of the State. If people ask me, what are your top 3 movies with Will Smith? Enemy of the State is going to be on that list. Enemy of the State is a great thriller. It was written for older white actor. It was written for the Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, Bruce Willis, Stallone, maybe Arnold, but it was written for that sort of actor. Mel would have fit the character the best out of the guys I just mentioned, unquestionably. But it was written for one of those guys. And they all ended up passing it. People get busy, especially a guy like Costner he worked on The Postman, then he needed some time off. And Mel was working like crazy during that era, the Lethal Weapon 4 and Payback. He never stopped working. And sometimes just get lucky. And in the case of Enemy of the State, there was nothing about that particular character where the character had to be 50-ish, mid-40s, early 40s, however you want to play it. And the part was resynced to, well, let's have a younger Harvard attorney. It doesn't have to be a guy who's been around. He's a young guy earning his keep, and let's just go from there. And Will fucking kills that part. He is fantastic. It's one of his best performances that would never have gotten Oscar consideration. He's basically Cary Grant in North by Northwest. He's an innocent guy ensnared in crazy bullshit and has to use the fact that he's fucking genius to get his way out of it, similar to Tom Cruise in The Firm, in the movie version, where the fact that he was like the smartest person to ever come out of Harvard plays into the story that he is able to outsmart even people who are really smart. But Will Smith was offered. It was pitched to him, and if he wanted it, it was his. What do you think about this? And Will said, honestly, I didn't understand the concept. They didn't give me a script to read. I didn't even, they could have given him a treatment, 5 pages. Here's a 5-page treatment. He said, I just didn't spark to it. The way it was explained to me, if it had been explained to me a little better or a little differently, I probably would have said, hey, this sounds great. Because there was talk that, as it sounded ridiculous if you don't know this, Sean Connery was originally going to play Morpheus. And the Connery of the mid to late 90s was still doing really good work. The Connery, like when he did the movie Entrapment of The Rock, he was still in his 60s and still vital and vibrant and a commanding, dominating screen presence, as was his peer, Clint Eastwood, another person. Clint would have never been Morpheus, but you could see it. You could see Sir Sean as Morpheus. It's not that wacky. And an alternate run out, in the movie The Flash, where they kind of tease alternate runouts where such and such, like original actor, it was really Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future. You could see a deleted scene in The Flash where somebody's talking about The Matrix, and wow, Connery fucking crushed that role of Morpheus. And Will Smith, who's the man now? Who's the man now? But Will ended up not doing it. And he said, I was wrong for the part. I'm glad that it wasn't pitched properly because I love Keanu, and Keanu nailed it. And I agree. Despite the reservations some people had, and despite the fact that Keanu is not the most emotive, expressive, Daniel Day-Lewis level actor, he's right for this particular part, especially in The Matrix 1999, because the character does not believe. He is not presented when we meet Thomas Anderson. Yes, he's a hacker, he's brilliant, right. But he is not presented as a guy who has all the answers. And with the Will Smith, especially the Will Smith of that era, of the who's the man now, is a very strong, forceful screen presence. A better actor than Keanu. I mean, we're being honest. But he would have been wrong for this part. Because part of the reason, to me, why Keanu works is you don't believe that this knucklehead could possibly be the one. It's Keanu, for crying out loud. It's Bill and Ted. And that works. Because we don't buy into it. Because this has to be bullshit. But it's not. And the way Keanu, without getting into a masterclass in film acting, the way his character slowly builds confidence is never less than believable. And the Wachowskis got the most out of him they could. And he's really great in this movie. You know, me saying that he's not a master thespian, don't take that to mean that I'm not and have always been a huge fan of Keanu Reeves. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer. I go back with this guy to Parenthood. I saw Parenthood on video in like 1990, and I fucking love that movie. It's one of Steve Martin's best films. And the late, great Jason Robards Jr. really brings it. What a phenomenal actor Robards was. What a great, great movie star and a great film actor. But Keanu is memorable in that film as that Todd. Just the way Diane Wiest as the mom, that Todd. He's fantastic in that film. Playing a young Joaquin Phoenix, this kind of older, also young kid, because Joaquin is like 13 or 14. He's going through puberty. He's, renting porn. Oh my God. Oh my God. What's he doing with these, with these videos? What the fuck do you think he's doing? But Keanu is able to relate. And that's the thing. Whether or not somebody is a great actor, Keanu, in this instance of the movie Parenthood, has fantastic chemistry with the other actors. And in The Matrix, even his scenes with Smith, they're great. They work. Because his character starts here, and as the story unfolds, and he begins to realize that, hey, there is something to this whole, the one thing. There is something to this whole Neo thing. Life is but a dream. Where do we go from here? He's fantastic. It's not just a great movie star performance. It's a great performance, period. You don't have to be a fantastic actor. As I was saying with Redford in The Natural, I've always said that Redford in The Natural, it is his finest piece of film acting. He gives a nuanced performance. And Keanu in The Matrix gives a nuanced performance. He gives everything he has to this part. And the whole supporting cast, man, Lawrence Fishburne sells it. And as I say, Carrie-Anne Moss, man, what a fucking killer turn from her. All of the scenes, whether in the real world or in The Matrix. And Joey Pants, Joe Pantoliano, a little over a decade after screaming and yelling, and him and De Niro cursing each other out in Midnight Run. Pantoliano is fantastic in The Matrix. It is such a great film. And I want to talk about the sequels, since I have you here. Because I could honestly talk about The Matrix for an hour straight, but I want to get into the sequels, which, as I say, and as many of you know, are very polarizing in terms of how people view them and take them. And so, yes, 25-year anniversary of easily a top 5 for me science fiction film, top 5 action film. You see, it's okay. Again, New York University Film School graduate. I'm giving you permission. You're allowed to cross genres. It doesn't have to be one or the other. James Cameron's Aliens, if you want to classify it as an action film, that would be top 5 also. You want to classify it as horror? Top 5. You want to classify it as sci-fi? Top 5. It's okay. The Matrix is an all-time action film, in addition to being an all-time sci-fi, brain twister, mindbender type movie. But I may be in the kind of lesser camp here, but I am as big a fan of Matrix Reloaded as the original. I remember when Matrix Reloaded came out, and same thing, a lot of people at Bev's gym saw it immediately, and they were disappointed, and people who knew that I, like them, had been enormous fans of the original, Jarrett was a big letdown. It was a big letdown. And then each person would say why, but nobody at Bev's that I remember, and I talked about the movie with at least 6 or 7 people, no one gave it an unqualified rave. So what did I do? I stupidly didn't see it in theaters. I let the mob tilt because I was going to see it, and then, I don't want to see it now. Nobody liked it. Wah. So it came to DVD, and I saw it, and I was gobsmacked. What movie did they watch? What the fuck? What do you mean it wasn't good? What do you mean it was boring? The film's fucking incredible. The action sequences, aside from the very obvious CGI in what was known at the time as the Burly Brawl, when Neo takes on like thousands of Agent Smiths, other than the CGI being a little weird and wonky in that scene, the other major large-scale set-piece sequences are extraordinary. When Neo is confronted by the Merovingian, and the Merovingian thinks, we're just going to kill this motherfucker, and Merovingian ends up having to flee. It is easily a top 10 all-time action sequence. That scene with the twins and, Neo fighting on that famous freeway chase, and not Neo, Morpheus. And the crazy ending sequence where Neo meets the architect. Now, I don't know exactly what the hell is going on there. I have an idea. And it makes logical sense that there have already been how many different iterations of the Matrix? How many different Neos? How many different runouts are we talking about here? It's a little everything everywhere all at once multiversal kind of shit, right? For me, The Matrix Reloaded is also a 4-star film, as I would classify The Matrix as 4 stars out of 4. Matrix Reloaded is phenomenal. Now, I actually saw Reloaded for the first time. I watched it twice when I bought the DVD. And then Matrix Revolutions was coming out. So again, I'm not patting myself on the back. That's just how the timing happened to work out. That Revolutions was coming out, and the early buzz on that was strong. So I said, I'm just being stupid. Let me just buy the DVD and I'll form my own opinion. What a concept. I will form my own opinion about The Matrix Reloaded, and through the roof, masterpiece. Wow. What the hell movie did these people see who told me it wasn't even worth seeing? What movie did they see? Now, unfortunately, I didn't like Matrix Revolutions. I thought it was a massive disappointment. It was a huge letdown after the incredible ending, like last half hour, and really the whole last hour plus of Matrix Reloaded is extraordinary. Even the stuff with Bane, which was polarizing in some quarters, it all worked for me. I loved certain segments of Revolutions. The stuff with the train man was really cool, and Neo kind of being trapped between the real world and the Matrix. All that stuff was good. But the kind of nonstop action sequences and then trying to go to the Machine City, it's not that the movie lost me. It just wasn't, to me, as interesting, exciting, and brain-teasing as the first 2 films had been. Still worth seeing. I would never tell anybody it's not worth it. But the sense is it was the weakest of the 3 Matrix Revolutions. And Keanu's terrific. Carrie-Anne Moss brings it in the 3rd one. It's just not nearly as good. It's a 2.5 star out of 4 movie, whereas the first 2 to me were 4 stars. Now, Matrix Resurrections, I'm actually a big fan of. I've seen it 4 times, And each time I feel like I get something new or pick up little pieces of information. A lot of people were upset that they recast Morpheus, but given the story that they were going to tell, they had to recast Morpheus. And Yahya Abdel-Mateen, who was terrific in the Candyman reboot, he sells it. If they had to recast Morpheus, that's the guy. And I'm glad they took him and chose him because he's perfectly cast and he is never less than believable. And it makes sense, the kind of shtick that his character does, because he's not the same Morpheus, if that makes sense. If you haven't seen the film, he's not literally playing Lawrence Fishburne. He's playing a different iteration of Morpheus. And they recast Smith, Jonathan Goff, another fantastic actor. I didn't unabashedly love M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin, but he's fantastic in the movie, as is Dave Bautista, I might add. That's a film that has a lot of elements that are terrific. Didn't love it. That's a 2.5-star movie. But if somebody were to say, Jared, how do you rank Matrix Resurrections using the same old school, old-fashioned 4-star scale? Matrix Resurrections is 3.5 stars. I think it's that good. I love Neil Patrick Harris as the analyst. There's an actor that, again, that's a Gen X, that's one of our guys. Doogie Howser, MD, 35 plus years ago. Neil Patrick Harris is so good in that movie. He's so good. Just as in a similar kind of role, where is he a good guy, is he not a good guy, in Starship Troopers, 1997, Paul Verhoeven's adaptation of, was it Heinlein? Of that famous novel. Fantastic. Like, wow. But yeah, Matrix Resurrections, awesome. Keanu is great. And the kind of joke that he didn't age the way everyone else did, because Keanu Reeves still looks phenomenal in real life. He didn't really necessarily look that young in 1999 for how old he was, but in the ensuing 20 plus years, he seemed to have aged more like 10. And Matrix Resurrections almost kind of plays around with that a little bit, has a few laughs. Well, it has a few laughs if you're aware of the fact that he looks really good for his age. So, 4 movies. I believe they're all available on Max. I keep wanting to call it HBO Max, but it's just Max now. If you haven't seen them, please start with the original Matrix and just go from there. I don't know anyone who has seen the original Matrix that doesn't like it. The critics got it wrong, even though, Rotten Tomatoes, it's fresh, but it should have gotten way better reviews than it did. And honestly, 1999, great year for movies. The Matrix, to me, is a better movie than the Best Picture winner, American Beauty, which is a film, honestly, I can take it or leave it. It's just okay. I saw it in theaters. I left the theater disappointed. As everyone from Spielberg on down was saying, this is one of the greatest American films. No, it's not. Get the fuck out of here. It's not. Give me a break. Come on. Annette Bening was the only one who realized she was in a black comedy. Everybody else pretended it was like Shakespeare. It ain't Shakespeare. I love Sam Mendes, but Road to Perdition, way better movie. Way better movie than American Beauty. 1999, Blair Witch Project, way better than American Beauty. Sixth Sense, better than American Beauty. No doubt about it. Hell, I like The Phantom Menace better than American Beauty. Come at me, bro. But The Matrix, the Wachowskis' incredible sci-fi action epic, which birthed a fantastic film franchise and, the Animatrix, video games, other bits of pop culture, all of which is great, and so many fans, so much cosplaying. I love it all. Even if Matrix Revolutions is just okay, the other 3 films in the series, for me, are fantastic and worth seeking out. And you can watch them all one after another. And who knows? Maybe in the comments you'll say, bro, you're crazy. I just watched all 4 and Matrix Revolutions is my favorite. That's fine. Because it's movies. And it's okay to not agree. It's okay to take issue with positions that I'm taking. Because it's all in good fun. Nobody gets hurt. It's not like The Matrix, where if you die in The Matrix, you're actually dead. No, we just have a disagreement, and that's it. But happy 25th birthday/anniversary to the release date of the extraordinary Matrix franchise. This has been episode 137 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for joining me once again. If you checked out this episode on the YouTube channel, haven't done so already, please click like, subscribe, comment, share, and turn on those notifications. Or if you catch up with this episode on the audio platforms such as Spotify or iTunes, same general rule applies. Click like, subscribe, comment, share, and turn on those notifications. I'll be back with episode 138 real soon. Till then, peace.